Deb, how did you find carnivore?
Hi, Dave, and thanks for having me on again. Actually, Carnivore found me. It'd be 2 years ago, August 1st. I'd come down with some stomach bug and spent the weekend on the couch and just scrolling through YouTube. And it was actually Dr. Obadiah um, YouTube video about stay off my operating table. And in that, he had mentioned about being on a carnivore diet. Well, I typed in carnivore IBS, eye conditions, whatnot onto YouTube. And of course, the algorithms picked it up. And I think the first person I caught on the IBS issue was Kerry Mann, along with all those other health issues that he had. So I got thinking, okay, I'm sick anyways. I might as well jump into this right off the bat. My stomach was pretty much emptied out anyhow. And I just started cold turkey. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And yeah, I was really sick for that first week and a half. Um, After I found out about electrolytes, that helped tremendously. And now that I'm 2 years into carnivore, I'm down to electrolytes now, just maybe every other day. I don't have to take them quite as much. I've cut back on my magnesium. The leg cramps seem to be disappearing, which is a good thing. I still take one at bedtime just strictly to help with sleep a little bit. My sleep is way better. It's still not optimal, but it's much better than what it was in the past. If I could get one night's sleep out of about five, I was doing good. Otherwise, I was up prowling through the night and, yeah, just working on the computer, doing whatever. Yeah, so the IBS within that first week and a half was gone. I'm assuming it was IBS. I don't want to say for sure because I never did get a medical diagnosis. But up until 2004, I was nursing. I was an RPN here in Ontario. So I kind of had an idea of what IBS, diverticulitis, that sort of thing was like. The reason I ended up not being in the nursing profession anymore was because at age 39, I was diagnosed with wet macular degeneration. And so that kind of put an end to my career, and I went off on disability. Let's see, what else have I had? In my past, as a child growing up, I had bronchitis a lot. So when I came down with a cold, I sounded like a harbor seal barking away in the background. Anyways, and then in 2017, I came down with a cold that I could not shake for the entire year. I went on a couple rounds of antibiotics, a couple rounds of puffers, and she wanted to put me on a steroid, prednisone. However, my mom, who had COPD, was on that, and it's not a pleasant drug at all. I mean, I know she needed it to help her breathe, but it also caused a lot of serious side effects with her. So I opted not to, um, and I continued with the cold for the whole summer. It would go away maybe for a week, and then it would come right back. So I had a friend, well, it was actually my daughter-in-law's mother who told me about serapeptase. So I looked it up, and it's listed mostly for joint pain and inflammation. But if you dig deep enough, you can find it for COPD and asthma and all that. So January of 2018, I got my first bottle and I started taking it. Well, within 3 days, the cough finally left me. And I continued to take it from 2017 up until 2023, about the second month into carnivore. I stopped it to see what would happen because it got rid of the cough and it did finally get rid of the shortness of breath, because when I walked or had any exertion, I'd become very short of breath. And since being on carnivore, that has left. So the serapeptase that I stopped. Now, having said that, in April of this year, I actually caught a cold, my first one in 5 years. And the cough sounded just as nasty as it always does. But the big differences I noticed, I could sleep through the night, even though I had the cold, without, because once before, if I laid down, the coughing would just start and I'd have to get up and come out into the recliner chair because I couldn't lay flat. So that didn't happen. I was able to still sleep at night. I spiked no fever. and I was over the cold in 10 days, as opposed to the 21 to 24 days it used to take me to shake the thing. So I'm thinking, oh, and I did start, when I felt the cold coming on, I did start back with my serapeptase. So three times a day for the first 5 days is what I did, and then I dropped back to one a day. And the first 2 days with the sore throat and the coughing, I stuck to salt water and bone broth to drink. And then I got back into eating, and I stuck to my bacon ham, um, oh, not bacon ham, bacon, eggs, beef, the BBBE as they call it, bacon, butter, beef, and eggs. And yeah, in 10 days it was gone. So even though the cough sounded really bad, like everybody looked at me, said I should be going to the doctor. And I said, no, I know my body. It's just a nasty bark that I get. And I've had that all along, even as a child. So I was quite impressed with that. I figured I could contribute the shorter duration of it to carnivore.
How's the wet macula been?
Okay, so I've had when that started in the end of the late 90s, there wasn't a whole lot of treatments there for that. My right eye needed thermal laser surgery. So what happens with that is everybody can, best way to describe wet macular is it's blood vessels grow where they're not supposed to, and they start leaking. So what happens is they have to cauterize that leak. So that's what the thermal laser does. But it also at the same time burns a hole where they've targeted the spot. So my one eye does have a fairly big blank spot. It's permanent. There was talk at one time about doing stem cell research for it. However, my retinal specialist has passed away, so that's not anything that will be happening to me anytime soon. Um, the other treatments I've had are the Visidyne, which was an IV injection, and then a non-thermal laser light, which didn't do any damage. It just clotted the blood vessels. I think I had three of those late 90s, early 2000s for them. And then they came out with a drug called Lucentis, which was an injection into the eye, which I only actually had to have one of them. So that was good because needles in eyeballs are not overly fun. Can't really feel too much, but they're frozen. But it's still the thought of a needle coming at your eye is kind of scary. So yeah, that. And then so anyways, when my retinal specialist had died, I got shifted to another ophthalmologist because they were looking at glaucoma as well. It had just started, and I was on drops at bedtime. So I got shifted to this other ophthalmologist who was about an hour's drive away from me. So when I saw him, he had said, well, we need to do some laser on the eye duct to open up that eye duct again. But he said, I don't do it. So I said, well, you know what? Send me to an ophthalmologist in my city so I don't have to be getting somebody to drive me to these appointments. And so I started seeing one here in my town. And by the time I got to see him, because there's always delays in the medical profession here, by the time I got to see him, I was already 3 months into carnivore. So that would have been 2023, August, September, October. And I think I saw him at the end of October, beginning of November. And by the time I got to him, my eyes were so sore from these drops at bedtime. They dry up the pressure in your eyes, what I believe is what they're supposed to do. I could barely open my eyes in the morning until I put a cold compress on them or something just to get them lubricated a bit. So I stopped the eye drop at bedtime just probably about 2 weeks before I went to see him. Now that was just my own doing. It wasn't medical supervision or anything. They were starting to feel better by the time I saw him. So I said to him, I did stop the drops. Can I continue? And he said, we'll check you in 6 months. Go ahead. At that time, when he tested my eyes, I was 19 in both of them. I had always been running at 21 and 22 pressure prior to that, even with the drops. So in 6 months, obviously I was 6 months into carnivore yet, not on top of the other three, so 9 months in, when I went back to see him, he did the glaucoma test, and he said I was running at 12 and 13. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, that's kind of unusual. Normally you need more drops as glaucoma progresses. You end up with taking drops throughout the day as well. So my eye drops at night stopped. My vision, or the glaucoma, had dropped to 13. And just this, uh, got my notes here. And just this January, I had both an ophthalmologist and an optometrist appointment. So the ophthalmologist was first. I was still holding at 13% in both eyes. He said, you're doing great. The wet macular is stable. There's no more leakage there at this point in time. It doesn't look like I'm headed to dry, because dry is more of an age-related macular. He said, and we can stop seeing you every 6 months, and I'll see you next year. So with my ophthalmologist, I'm down to a year now. Unless, of course, I notice anything different, which I check my Amsler grid, which, if anybody who has eye conditions knows, it's a box with a whole bunch of little boxes in between. And what I found with that is with a dot dead center. So you got to look at the dot, and then you see where your distortion is. Well, with the eye, my right eye that has the blank spot, I've got a blank space just right above the eye dot, but all the wavy lines and the distortion I used to see are totally gone. The boxes are all square. It's
That's
I just actually,
fantastic.
yeah, that's what I thought. I just actually printed off two of them last week and took a look, and I was like, oh, I've got no more distortion here at all, other than the blank spot. So obviously something in my eyes has changed totally. So then, anyways, then I had to go to the optometrist, who I hadn't been to in 4 years because of COVID and whatnot. I just hadn't been in since 21. I needed new sunglasses, prescription sunglasses. And I fully expected that I would need a new prescription. No, I didn't. There was no change. That's been 4 years. So something's obviously okay in my vision
So
now as
you were
far as.
just expecting that you would need a stronger prescription as time
Exactly.
goes on, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. And no, it's the old
Wow.
prescription, and I got a new pair of sunglasses. I didn't bother to change my other ones then because there was no point. I still need readers, as you can see, they're on top of my head, but they've come down. I had 2.5, and these ones are a 2, so that's coming down a bit. So who knows where the next few years will go with this.
So at your last appointment with the ophthalmologist, was he somewhat surprised
Oh
about the
yeah, he said,
results?
like you said, we don't usually see this. You get worse. I said, well, I guess I must be an oddball because it seems to be getting better. So yeah, he
Yeah.
he was kind of floored by it.
And you do you put this down to the diet, the fact that you're not having sugar in your diet day to day, that kind
I
of thing?
really do think so. Oh, one other thing I noticed with my eyes too, prior to going carnivore, the floaters. They were getting quite bad. I'd have to blink a few times in the morning to clear everything up. Um, Now, when I misbehave, which I have, um, the next morning I will see a floater. So that to me is diet related, period. So I mean, if I've been out to a restaurant, I never know for sure what a hamburger's been. I try to get ones that are done on the char, but charbroiled, whatever, but you just never know what additives are also thrown in with them. um, I try to keep them as clean as possible, but and it's not that I go out a lot, but when the girls go out, I like to go out with them. So it's either that or chicken wings, and we sometimes know they get deep fried in seed oils, which that's not good either. But
Yeah.
but I do notice that once I step out of line, things start happening. Now, this past February, I was in Costa Rica for the month, and the girls that I went with, they all like their fruit and whatnot. So I did take, but they cut them up, have them in the fridge. And so after a hearty breakfast of bacon and eggs, I might pop a couple pieces of fruit, but none of that bothered me at all. And I can eat avocado and tomato, but it's not a daily occurrence. It's just once in a blue moon, stuff like that. And I grow some in my own garden, so I know exactly where they're coming from.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know everyone's situation is very different and very individual, but your story would give a lot of hope to other people that are suffering with wet macula and glaucoma.
Yeah, I
It's
would say if you've got that issue going on, give carnivore a try, at least at the minimum, ketovore. Um, I
mhm.
used to preach my carnivore quite a bit, but I think it was starting to drive people nuts. So I've backed off. But really, truthfully, the ones with health issues, I keep saying just try it for 30 days and go from there. It it's life changing, but so many just can't. They think they're going to be so restricted by the food, and they're going to miss out on this. They're going to miss out on that. And I really don't miss out on anything. I like my hamburger. I like my steak. I eat a lot of eggs. I go through about 3 dozen a week now. So um, if it's not bacon and eggs, I scramble eggs into the hamburger, and I eat a lot of that. I'm usually twice a day, sometimes once a day, depending on how I'm feeling. First thing in the morning, a lot of times I'm just not hungry. I haven't ate yet. It's 10 after 8 here right now. And I probably won't eat till about 10. I'm just not hungry right now. 'Cause last night was a pound of hamburger and 4 scrambled eggs. So it fills me up.
I feel it's almost like this kind of superpower to be able to wake up in the morning and not feel hungry and go about and have lots of energy, go about and do things, around the house or go
Exactly.
shopping or whatever, and
I,
not
I
feel hungry.
I still have that little vice of coffee yet. I don't think I'll ever give that up. So that's my first go-to thing in the morning. I have that with butter and sit and play my crosswords and do whatever. And then I usually walk the dog, although this morning I didn't. I kind of ran out of time. But it's hot here right now. So early mornings when she's got to go for her walks, we're pushing 34 Celsius with a humidex of 40 right now. So we're pretty hot here. So I got a pool. We're good.
Mm.
But
You're
yeah.
you're uh you're going through the same problem we are at the moment. It's just
Oh,
very
you in the
similar
heat
kind
wave
of
too?
temperatures here. Yeah.
To me, it's not much of a problem. I'm a summer girl. That's why I take off for the winter. But yeah, a lot of people, and I feel bad for the ones that don't have air conditioning or whatever, because that humidity can get to you after a while. But I'm okay that way. So
One thing I've actually noticed regarding the heat is since I've been carnivore, summer isn't as bad for me. Like, and it might just be the fact I don't have as much insulation anymore, but it just I feel more comfortable throughout even the worst parts of summer.
yeah, yeah, a lot of people say that working out, and maybe too, if I had a workout in the heat, I might have a different attitude towards it too. But I don't, so it's for me, it's not a big issue. And actually, I
Mm.
find I really don't sweat that much anymore. I don't know if that's part of it or not. Body odor seems to be gone. I very seldom use deodorant now. Skin tags have pretty much leaving me. I had a really, I don't know if you can see that brown spot there.
Oh
That
yeah.
was a lot bigger at one time. It has shrunk considerably. So I'm assuming that's the diet. Because I mean, I'm 67 years old, so that thing's been with me all my life, and it was a lot bigger, and it's now just shrinking.
Wow. So you mentioned like you like going away with the girls and going out for dinner with them and stuff. So what what's their reaction been to the way you've been eating over the last 2 years? Are they just they're
In the start,
astounded that you can do it?
in the start, it was like, "Is that all you're eating?" But now they've all come to accept it. They know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to eat, what I'm not going to. If we have a get together, there's always a charcuterie board for me. I make my own either crackers or I pop a bunch of pork rinds before I go. Actually, I just found this company here in Canada that you can buy them dehydrated and pop them in the air fryer and pop them up fresh. So I usually pop a bag and take them with me, and there's always cheese, meat. I can eat a few pickles, some olives, anything that's been fermented a bit doesn't bother me now anymore either. It's just I don't make a practice of it. once in a while it's good, doesn't affect me. So, but yeah, they're good now. They all know.
Oh,
Actually,
nice.
for my birthday this past year, uh, I think it was my birthday, or was it? I can't remember. Anyways, we had a little get together. We had a book club, and one girl had brought little treats to hand. She had done some baking and whatnot, and had brought treats for the girls. She handed me a bag of meat, so that's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
I knew the message had got across for me as well when the message had got across to my family as well when for my birthday a couple of years ago, I basically got a steak out of the supermarket with a bow on top of it.
Perfect. Yeah, she had a nice little ribbon tied around mine too. Yeah, they all know.
That, that's
Uh,
nice.
that helps. I found I think it was Kelly Hogan. It's her recipe. I'll make an oopsie cake if there's something coming up that I need a little something like that, and make a regular cake for the girls. I used to do a lot of baking back when the kids were growing up, and I still enjoy it. I just don't eat it anymore, other than my stuff that I make for myself. I do have a so-called bun recipe that I use, and all it is eggs and beef bone broth powder and a bit of butter. And I've got it makes my hamburger buns. I can toast it. I can use it to dunk in my eggs and stuff like that. And I've actually pretty much all the girls that I hang with, they all like them. I'll make batches for them and give them to them because they really like them. And there's no bloat, no gas. They all enjoy that part of it. So
So that's just you just mix that stuff up and you put it in like baking tins or something in the
there's
oven.
actually a special. It's called silicone mesh. Um,
Mm.
if anybody's ever interested in it, it's on Anita's recipe website.
Oh, ketogenic
Ketogenic
woman.
woman, yes, and yeah, it's just 6 eggs, all the egg whites, but only 3 egg yolks, and you have to whip the egg whites stiff, and then you gradually add in the egg yolks, and then it's in the egg whites as well. There is a bit of egg white powder, and that gets whipped stiff. And then once that's done, you fold in frozen butter, which I put a fair amount in because I love my butter. I think it's like 1 to 2 ounces or something like that. And you fold that in, and you cut in beef bone broth powder, and then it's like a stiff batter. You spoon it into these mesh silicone bun things and bake it for 17 minutes, and you've got a really good bun.
Nice. And that it's really good when you can do something like that so that if everyone's having hamburgers or something like that, you can partake in the same kind of thing.
I, I've often had this notion to stick a couple in my purse when I go out, so that when I order the hamburger at the restaurant and say no bun when it comes, I can slap my own bun on. Haven't done that yet, but I don't know what they would
Uh,
think if I whipped my buns out of my purse and said, "Oh, I got my own bun. Forget it."
that'd be awesome.
I have to
Um,
say, a friend of mine, her daughter, her little girl will be a year old on August 1st, and they've been a lifestyle of meat and fruit. And they've brought the and eggs and all that too, and they've brought the baby up that way. And so I made a batch of these for her, thinking maybe that they would like them. Now she's making them, and the little girl loves them toasted with butter. So that one worked out really well.
that's awesome. And how's the little girl doing when like
Really
she's 1 year
well.
old?
Really
Yeah.
well. She's a little sweetheart, and she's happy. And basically they started it because when mom was breastfeeding, and if she ate things she shouldn't have, they'd be up all night with the babe because she had gas and whatnot. So they switched their diet up, and yeah, that's they live off of meat, animal protein, and fruit.
That's fantastic, and that's such an interesting way to work it out as well.
Yeah, I think she started, and
Yeah.
I don't know who the lady was. I think she started following somebody on YouTube who promoted that sort of thing, but I have no idea who the lady was or whatever. So, and yeah, and actually, the mom's dad, he is a truck driver, and he is one of my ones that came to me asking questions. So when he's on the road, he pre-cooks all his meat now and takes hard-boiled eggs, and he will take a few fruits with or vegetables with him as well. But I always tell him, that's your preference. Go ahead, do it. But I always suggest eat a lot of protein first. Like eat that animal-based stuff first to offset the spike you're going to get from your carrots or your celery or whatever. Have them kind of as your dessert. So he's been doing that, and he's lost weight. His back pain is pretty much gone, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, his fatty liver disease has reversed as well. So there was a positive.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
And, like, this is people, seeing how well you're doing, you're sharing the information with them, and they're just getting better.
I've
And, like,
got even
some
one
of
better story. Like I said, I don't preach it anymore, but if somebody comes and asks me, I will tell them.
Uh-huh.
So I have a friend in Florida. That's where I need my glasses for now. Um, and she has, I think she's down over 100 pounds now at this point. And she had asked me what I was doing, and I said carnivore, and I told her how to do it, and I gave her some tips on getting collagen into you, just because I know in that first period it happened to me, I started having hair loss. It's fine now, but in the start, it was really coming out pretty good. But your body's healing, so the last place it's going, it's to your hair. Anyways, she's down, I think, over 100. She has been on depression medication for 30 years, but she did take herself off of Prozac quite a while ago because she had heard about the side effects of it. Now she is weaning herself off of Wellbutrin, so that's coming down in dosage. Um, her blood pressure medication has gone from 5 milligrams twice a day to 2.5 milligrams twice a day. Her cholesterol has gone from 174 to 116, and that was after she quit the statin. Her triglycerides have dropped from 349 to 107. Her blood sugar levels are dropping, and she is reducing her Manjaro injection to every other week. That was without consulting the doctor. She just started doing that. And then when she went for her last visit, the doctor said, "Oh, the Manjaro's Jarvo, whatever the heck it's called, is working." And she said, "Well, actually, I'm down to every other week." And that kind of left her doctor speechless. um, and she is off of glycembi, and her metformin is down from 1,000 milligrams 2 times a day to 500 milligrams 2 times a day. So everything's starting to drop, and she's quite happy. Now, she does have a tendency, she admitted, to fall off every now and again, but then she gets herself back on, and it seems to be working okay for her. So,
and that's the thing, you've given her the tools to get back on,
exactly.
right? And, like, none of the doctors could ever have done that for her.
No, exactly. They would just keep pushing the meds. That Manjaro jab or whatever it was, I'm assuming that's probably along the line of Ozempic, those ones maybe.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it is,
they
yeah.
were making her very nauseous and her an upset stomach. So she said, for the most part, I was cutting down on eating, but I wasn't getting any nutrition. I was just feeling sick. So that has turned around for her. I told her she should do an interview with her, but she's no.
Um, wow, that's awesome. So, I guess also from your perspective, there's no going back?
No, no, not at all. I'm sticking this way forever. So, like I said,
Mm.
I can still introduce a few things when I want to. It's not that I do it frequently. Summer, because I've got my own strawberries and my own raspberry patch, I'll have a few of them. But it's not like I go out and have 2 cups in a go or anything like that. It's just maybe a little handful, and definitely after I've eaten a lot of protein. Never on an empty stomach.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So if one of your other friends said to you, "Okay, I'll give it a try," what advice or tips would you give them for getting started to try and at least get them through 30 days?
Right. I do have that link to Dr. Ken Berry's when he started more keto, but it was still promoting a lot of the meat along with fruits and vegetables. But now, since I've known this mom and her baby to do what they're doing, to keep a few carbs in their system when they'd start, I would just highly recommend doing the beef, butter, bacon, eggs, and fruit. That would, but definitely again, after they've had all those other things, to keep a few um, carbohydrates in their diet. Cheese and dairy, be very careful with that to start, because I have had that problem where I overindulge in cheese and heavy whipping cream, especially at this time of the year, because I do actually make the ice cream for my for to enjoy over the summer. But that's just heavy whipping cream and egg yolks. There's no other additives in it. So, but I can overdo it, and then I just have to cut back and watch myself. So, and usually
Yeah,
way I can tell if I've overdone it is I will start to get gassy. Like I'll start to do a lot of belching, and that was what I had right when I started carnivore. I think too much fat was getting to me, so I know when I've
mm,
overdone the whipping cream now.
right, right. And so you if you're giving people the advice to kind of start with the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and add some fruit in, and then kind of gradually take the fruit out as they feel
Yeah.
more comfortable.
What I
Right.
find with a lot of people when they say about it, one just keeps saying she can't give up her salads. She loves her salads. And I just can't do without them, she says. So, and she eats a lot of chicken and that too, which that's something surprisingly I don't really have. Chicken is not on the top of my list anymore. I don't It tastes funny to me now. Prefer beef.
Y- Yeah,
But
same.
and then I've got some other friends that they like to experience. They do a lot of traveling, which I totally understand, and they just like to experience other foods and whatnot. So they're really not interested in going this way at all. What I find nice about it is when I travel, like Costa Rica is a 5 hour flight from me, so I just pack beef jerky and hard boiled eggs and have a couple of them on the plane, and I'm good until we get to wherever it is we're going, and I can eat whenever, or I don't even have to. It's not like I need my 3 meals a day. That's not the case anymore at all. So I've got a really big flight coming up in February of next year, New Zealand. So that's a 20-hour day, 28-hour day till we get there, because we've got a stop in Sydney, Australia, which is bizarre, but that's where we're headed. So
Yeah, so you're kind of going from the West Coast down to
yeah,
Sydney
I've
and
got to
then
fly
back to
from.
New
I'm
Zealand.
in Ontario, so I've got to fly from Ontario to Vancouver, and then we were supposed to fly direct from Vancouver to Auckland, but that flight got changed. So now we've got to go to Sydney, and then from Sydney down to Auckland. So it's going to be a long day, but I'll have my beef jerky and I'll have my hard boiled eggs.
And the thing is, the beauty of this way of eating is once they're gone and you feel, and everyone's having their final meal as you're landing, you're feeling like, I'm fine. I can fast until I
And their
find
legs are going
something
to kick in
appropriate.
about an hour or two afterwards, and they're going to be tired because the carbohydrates just kicked in.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Well, look, I'm really happy you came back on, Deb, and let us know how things are going, and I'm really happy to hear that you're doing so well.
Well, thank you.
Um, is there a way people could reach out to you? Do you have any
I
social
just
media?
basically I have my Instagram. If you still have that, I forgot to write it
Oh,
down, but that's basically where they can find me. I don't post a whole lot at all, but if anybody wanted to reach out to me, they could just message me through Instagram.
sure. I'll include that in the show notes.
Okay,
Thank you very much for coming on and letting us know how everything's going. I really appreciate your time.
you're welcome, and thank you for doing this. You're opening up the door to a lot of people to hear about everybody's successes.